Hi, this is Jeffrey from SEO Design Solutions, and we're inside of the SEO Design Framework, and I thought I'd show you around on how you can use some of the features in the drag and drop builder. So technically, when you create any new page or post, you have the option to use the visual or the text editor like you would in any normal WordPress environment, but you also have the ability to use the drag and drop builder. So in order to use the SDF builder, you simply click the button here. You have a couple of options here where you can either add a module. If you simply add a module, it's just going to go ahead and create a row by default and create that. Or you have the option to either add a row or a hero section. Now, the first thing is the distinction between a row and a hero section is with the general row, while you still have the ability to change the column layouts. For example, if I wanted to have a 1/2 or 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 layout, you can still add modules in this way, but the only real distinction is that with a row you do have some limitations to what you can do sort of behind the scenes. So you can actually edit the shadow color, border style, and width for a row. But you'll notice under the same scenario down here, if I just were to do the same thing and choose a 1/3, 1/3 layout, if I'm using a hero section, I actually have a lot more options here. So I can actually determine the hero height. Please keep in mind that when you do add things of these nature, that you do use the pix suffix after the height. So if you wanted to create, 400 pix high hero section, meaning that's the height of the actual row that you're going to place things inside, you can do that. You can add padding to the top and bottom. You can actually add margins. So for example, you see that there's some shorthand properties. If I wanted to add, the way it works is with margins is the first value is for the top of the actual section. So that's 25 pix. Now I've got 50 pix on the left side, 75 pix on the right side, and 100 pix below. So I can determine exactly where I'd like the row or the margins inside of that hero section to appear. I can choose things along the lines of background type. So I can actually use a background color or image for the background of that hero section. I can use a parallax effect, which is like a scrolling effect essentially, or I can even implement background video. So if I wanted to do that, I would have to implement a ratio, and you can see that we've got some little tips here that tell you that a ratio of 0.5 would cause the element to scroll at half speed. 1 would have no effect, and a ratio of 2 would cause the element to scroll at twice the speed. So you can see here, by adding the different ratios, you get the different parallax effects if you select parallax. For the sake of argument, I'm just going to go ahead and keep this simple for now. If I wanted to change the background color of my hero section, so let's just say that I wanted to have an orange hero section, we can do that. If I wanted to implement an image, I could simply upload my image here from the media library or the upload files area. I also could use a background repeat option, center, no repeat, left, top, horizontal repeat. If I were to use an image that was going to cascade across, otherwise, I could either use the contain feature or center, no repeat, and the image would simply appear there. If I have a YouTube video, I can actually place the YouTube background video URL there. And then I would have some options if I wanted to mute the background video on load. If I wanted to add any box shadow colors for the actual hero section, a border color, border style if I wanted to, or border width. So you see we've got some nice options. For me particularly, I do prefer to use heroes, but it's really up to you depending on your design style or characteristic. So I'm just going to go ahead and, for the sake of argument now, I'm just going to go ahead and use that orange background color there. And now, ideally, we can actually add some different elements, or what we call modules, to the mix here. So I'm going to go ahead and change this to keep it very simple for now, just to use a 1x1 layout. Still, what I did, it does not affect the actual background options that I've selected. But let's go ahead and right now, let's just add a headline, for example. So these are the modules. We're going to be going through each one of these in detail, and this is really a great way to sort of just familiarize yourself with the framework in the drag and drop builder. First module that we have here is the text block. So if I were to simply click the text block option, I'm going to go over here and grab some Lipsum text. Go back to my text block area, and I would simply paste my text. Now this is essentially just like any other text area in the site. Now, even though you could use the visual element of the text block tab, we really prefer that you just sort of stay in the text version of the module, so to speak, because this really is just for adding text. We have other modules that allow you to add images and other effects, but anything that you do here will reflect in the text on the front end. So you have the ability as well to add top or bottom margins. You can change the text alignment here. Now, you should do that as opposed to using the visual editor, because this will make sure that the code is consistent across the site, and it will make sure that everything is responsive. So if I wanted my text alignment to be centered or justified or right or left justified, I could do that here. You can also choose the font family. Now, if you're familiar with the way that the framework works, you can actually go and load additional Google fonts from Google and place them inside the framework, which would then appear over here. So for example, I did load Open Sans earlier. Now it appears as an optional font that I can utilize. So I'm just going to go ahead and place that in there. So let's go ahead and make this the text in this text block 15 pixels. If you're familiar with the preset colors that you can customize or create under the Styles tab, you see that we have some options here that we pre-populated. So I'm just going to go ahead and use the default primary color. If I wanted to add an entrance animation to this text in this module, I could do that as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm just going to do bounce in. You can also determine the entrance animation duration. Now the default is going to pull from the SEO Design global settings. You can change the under entrance animations. You can change the actual entrance duration, or you can override that here if you wanted to have a longer duration for the entrance animation. So it's entirely up to you. It's on a use case basis. The link is, if you wanted the text to link somewhere, you could do that. If you wanted to have a link title where you hovered, you could do that as well. You also have the ability to create hyperlinks inside the text as you would in any normal environment, like so. But if you wanted to make the entire block a link, that is an option, and we've included that. You can determine what target the link goes to. It can either be the same window, a new window, or none. You can also determine if the link is no followed or do follow, meaning that if you're linking to another website, Google has made it clear that they don't want to pass page rank from one site to the other. So if you're linking to another website with a link, it's better to use the no follow option. Otherwise, if it's just a link from one portion of your site to another, then the no follow option is not really a concern. You can also add margins here. And if you have CSS classes that you'd like to treat this content within this module, regardless of what it is, the class feature you'll find on all the other modules as well. So basically, I've added my text. I haven't really configured any of the margins. I've just made the alignment to the left. I've used Open Sans at 15 pixels with a black font with a slight entrance animation, and I'm going to update my changes. Now here's the interesting thing. Let's just say that I wanted to go ahead and put a headline above this. I can actually use the headline module. Since we've already covered the text module, I'm just going to go to the headline module, and I'm going to say, this is my headline. Now here, for example, I might want to use a little margin. Let's just say I've got 15 pixels above and below the headline, just to make sure the spacing is proper. I can choose if I want it to be an H1 through H6 tag, as well as we do have the option on the new version where it'll just, the default will be a paragraph tag. So if you don't want to pull from any of the header tags, you can simply overwrite that. And then you have the ability as well to choose the font that you'd like. You have the ability to choose the font size. So if I wanted to make this a very large font, like let's just say 45 pixels, make sure you use the pix suffix. Choose the color option, unless you're using an H color or a header tag, if you will, which would pull from the settings that you've prescribed under styles. It's going to go ahead and dial in my color there. Text alignment, let's go ahead and make that center justified. No entrance animation for this one. And you also have the ability, the great thing about the headline module is you can actually do a rotator script. So if I did want a rotator script, I would simply say yes, and then I could determine how many seconds I wanted to delay it. So I could have a 4-second delay, and you also have to choose a separator. So if I wanted to make the separator a pipe, for example, then I would simply go up here and I would then use the pipe. Is my second headline. And the great thing about that is it's going to look at whatever separator you place there, and then after that duration of time, it will then rotate into that script if you want that feature. Now, if you don't, you just simply, use whatever your headline is, and you don't select the rotate words option. But I'm going to go ahead and use that. Fit text is a nice script, so that it just makes sure that it responds accordingly to different viewports. And so, and also you do have the class option. Once again, as I stated before, you do have class options across all of the modules for the developer types that want to really customize their content. So I'm just going to click update. And the great thing about the drag and drop builder is you can completely move things around. So you'll see that I can rearrange those things. You can even rearrange the nature of the rows if you like as well. Now, for the sake of convenience, I'm just going to add a module down here. And we're going to add an image really quick. So you can actually add the title here. The image, you would simply click the upload image option. You have top and bottom margins if you like. Entrance animations as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and put bounce in. Oh, you have alignment options, and you also have a number of image size and shape masks. So if I wanted to have an image mask of a circle, I could do that. But I'm just going to go ahead and put large size. If I wanted to make the image trigger a light box so that if somebody clicks it, and this is great for internet marketers or affiliates, if you will. If you click an image, then a light box will appear, and on that light box there might be an opt-in offer or something of that nature. If I wanted to do that, I would simply say, click the yes option, and then I would place my link URL. So I have to use the actual http://www my domain or whatever domain you're linking to.com. The link title would be the when you hover over the image, that's what the link would say. So that could be a nice call to action. And once again, your target, you could make it the same window or a new window. You could add margins to the actual image or whatever module you're in. And you could also add classes to that as well. So in this case, once again, I'm just going to go back. I'm going to pick an image, something nice and festive here. Let's go with this one. Select that, click update, and you'll notice that it's now present. Now the great thing about this is we've used Bootstrap, so this image is responsive based on the viewport area. If you resize something when there's empty areas, it will simply default to the one area that has content in it. So you can see by me changing that to a 1:1, it's actually resized the image inside of that. If I chose a 1/2, 1/2 layout, then you can see that it also resizes as well. Or 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. So as you can see, by resizing by changing the columns, you actually have the option to change the custom layout. I could even do a custom layout here, but for the sake of keeping it simple, we're just going to maintain what we've got here. If I wanted to do 5/6, 1/6, for example, then my layout would change. And so this gives you some flexibility on what you can do. And once again, all you'd have to do is simply add a module any way you'd like, and that's how you could administer that. So for now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just go ahead and make this a 1x1. And you see that I've got my headline, a little bit of dummy text up here, something that's really cool, for example. And I'm just going to go ahead and I can dial in a number of different settings down here. For example, I could turn on or off my featured entrance animations, social sharing buttons, breadcrumbs, display titles, change the layout or header or footer section here. But for the sake of argument, I'm just going to go ahead and keep this attached to the global settings. Give it a name and publish my content. After that, we'll come back to the additional modules. I'm going to go ahead and view my page. And remember how we actually added an orange hero, and we used the rotator script for my headline. On the next section, I actually added the image here. Now, let's say that I wanted to use another hero section down here and move that. So let's just go ahead and go back to the page. I'm going to click the SDF builder, which will now render my layouts. I'm going to add one more hero section. Now that I've created my hero, I'm going to drag my image up here. And I can just delete the old row, because once again, rows do have some limited functionality versus the hero sections. I'm going to go to my hero section now, and I'm going to just choose my background color. I'm going to make this the nice dark color, or if I want, I can actually just use the color picker, choose a hex value that I'd like, make sure that I've got my background color / option for background type, so background color image, and that's it. So now I click update changes, we go over to the front end, refresh our page, and now there's my new hero. So this is just an example of what you can do very quickly, and we also have the ability to change the structure of the actual columns. So I'll show you how to do that really quick. So say for example I wanted to make this smaller, this area, I could do that here. You can see that you do have the options. It tells you what the size is, 7/12. Right now I've got 1/2. If I wanted to clone this module, I could simply do that right here by clicking this button in the middle, and now I've got 2. And so you can actually use that effect if you really wanted to break out and do something that's unique, or you could start with like a different column layout and do that. So now I'm just going to update my changes, go to the front end. So what I've done is I've resized the width of this column to 1/2, and I've replicated the other, I've actually replicated it into 2 columns. So by using the clone option. And so that's an example of how you can use the drag and drop builder. We're going to move on to the next module, but right now we're going to take a break, and I will be back shortly.